The scream tore through the underground parking garage before Emma even realized it came from her own throat. Her phone clattered against concrete as rough hands grabbed her shoulders from behind, spinning her toward the shadows between two massive SUVs. She twisted hard, adrenaline flooding her system, her laptop bag swinging wildly as a weapon. The strap connected with something solid, a grunt, a curse, and suddenly she was free, stumbling backward into the fluorescent-lit corridor. "Wait!" The voice behind her wasn't threatening. It was urgent, almost desperate. "Emma, stop!" She froze. He knew her name. The man stepped into the light, hands raised in surrender. Dark hair fell across sharp cheekbones, and his gray eyes held something between apology
Please,
and
you
warning.
have to believe me.
He wore expensive clothes that didn't match the violence of the moment, a tailored black coat over a crisp white shirt, now slightly disheveled from her laptop bag's impact. "How do you know my name?" Emma's voice shook, despite her attempt at steadiness. Her heart hammered against her ribs like it wanted to escape, because they know it too. He glanced past her shoulder toward the garage entrance, his jaw tightening.
Run now.
"And they're coming!" Emma's instinct screamed at her to run, but something in his expression, raw fear mixed with determination, rooted her feet to the spot. "Who's coming? What are you talking about?" No time. He moved closer, and she noticed the thin cut above his eyebrow, fresh blood still wet. "You have approximately 90 seconds to decide whether you trust me or take your chances with them. But I need you to understand something. If you walk away right now, you won't make it to your car." The overhead lights flickered. Once. Twice. Emma's pulse accelerated. "This is insane. I'm calling the police. Your phone's on the ground behind me." His eyes never left hers. "And they've already disabled the cell towers in a 3-block radius. Emma, please. I know this sounds impossible, but 48 hours ago, I was sitting in an office just like you, thinking my biggest problem was a quarterly report. Then I stumbled onto something I wasn't supposed to see, and now we're both in danger." "We?" Emma's laugh came out bitter. "I don't even know you. Adrian." He extended his hand, the gesture absurdly formal given their circumstances. "Adrian Cross, former data analyst for Meridian Technologies, currently wanted for corporate espionage I didn't commit." She didn't take his hand. "That doesn't explain why you grabbed me." "Because I saw them first." Adrian lowered his arm, his expression hardening. 3 men, professional grade, entered the lobby 60 seconds before you left your office. They went straight to the elevators. I've been tracking their pattern for 2 days. They're systematic, efficient, and they don't leave witnesses. When I saw them heading for your floor, I ran." Emma's mouth went dry. "My floor? This has nothing to do with me. I work in marketing. For God's sake, I design email campaigns." "You also scheduled a meeting with David Chen for tomorrow morning." Adrian's voice dropped. "Chief Technology Officer. The only person at Meridian who might listen to what I discovered. The only person who might help me prove I'm innocent." The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Emma had scheduled that meeting 3 hours ago, a routine appointment requested through the executive assistant. She'd barely glanced at the name. "How do you know about that meeting?" "Because I've been monitoring all communications with Chen's office. It's how I knew you were connected, how I knew you'd be in danger." Adrian glanced at his watch, then back toward the entrance. "We're out of time. You can verify everything I'm saying, but not here. Not now." The elevator chimed. The sound echoed through the parking garage like a death knell. Emma's breath caught as the doors slid open, revealing 3 figures in dark suits. Even from this distance, she could see they weren't building security. "Back exit," Adrian said quietly. "Through the mechanical room. Now." Emma ran. She didn't consciously decide to trust him. Her body simply reacted, survival instinct overriding logic. Her heels clacked against concrete as she sprinted toward the dimly lit corridor. Adrian indicated, her laptop bag bouncing painfully against her hip. Behind them, she heard the elevator doors close again, then heavy footsteps, running. Adrian caught up to her in 3 strides, his hand finding the small of her back, guiding rather than pushing. Left here. The mechanical room has a service exit to the alley. They're going to catch us. Emma's lungs burned. Not if we're smart. He yanked open a metal door marked Authorized Personnel Only, ushering her into a space filled with humming machinery and exposed pipes. The noise was deafening, furnaces, ventilation systems, the building's mechanical heart beating around them. Adrian pulled the door shut and immediately moved to an electrical panel on the wall. His fingers flew across a keypad Emma hadn't noticed, entering a code that made no sense for someone who claimed to be a fugitive. "Maintenance override," he explained, catching her confused expression. "Learned it from a friend. This will lock them out for maybe 90 seconds. Then what? Then we're already gone." He grabbed her hand, warm, steady despite everything, and led her deeper into the mechanical labyrinth. They wove between massive boilers and water heaters, the heat oppressive after the garage's chill. Emma's blouse stuck to her back, her carefully styled hair coming loose from its clip. Behind them, someone slammed against the metal door. Once. Twice. "They're through," Adrian muttered. "Move faster." They burst through the service exit into a narrow alley reeking of garbage and rain-soaked asphalt. The night air hit Emma's face like a slap, cold and sharp and real. This was happening. This was actually happening. Adrian didn't slow down. He pulled her left, toward the street, toward crowds and traffic and the blessed anonymity of the city. Emma's mind raced, trying to process everything, trying to find the logic in this nightmare. "Wait!" She dug her heels in, forcing him to stop. They stood in the shadows between streetlights, both breathing hard. "I need answers. Right now. Why me? Why would anyone care about a marketing coordinator scheduling a meeting?" Adrian's jaw worked, conflict clear in his expression. Then he pulled out his phone, somehow still intact despite everything, and showed her a photograph because of this. Emma stared at the screen. It showed a spreadsheet, dense with numbers and codes she didn't understand. But at the top, highlighted in red, was her company's logo. And next to it, a figure that made her stomach drop. $12 million, Adrian said quietly. Embezzled over 6 months through a ghost account, and the last authorization code belongs to David Chen. That's impossible. Chen's been with the company for 15 years. He's innocent, I know. Adrian's voice carried absolute certainty. Someone set him up, used his credentials, created a perfect frame. And when I found the real account trail, when I saw where the money actually went, I became a target. They've been hunting me for 2 days, Emma. 2 days of running, hiding, trying to find someone at Meridian who might listen. And then I saw your meeting request. Emma's head spun. So you used me as bait? No. He met her eyes, and she saw genuine regret there. I was trying to protect you. The moment you scheduled that meeting, you became part of this whether we liked it or not. They'll assume Chen told you something, or that you know something, or that you're helping me. The truth doesn't matter to them anymore. A car turned into the alley behind them, headlights sweeping across the wet pavement. Run, Adrian said. They ran. This time, Emma didn't question it. They burst onto the main street, immediately swallowed by Friday night crowds. Young professionals headed to bars, couples walking hand in hand, a street musician playing saxophone on the corner, normal life, utterly oblivious to the danger weaving through it. Adrian kept her hand in his, navigating the crowd with practiced ease. Stay close. Don't look back. Act natural. Natural, Emma repeated breathlessly. Right. Because this is totally normal. Despite everything, she caught the flash of his smile. You're handling this better than I did my first day. I threw up in a McDonald's bathroom. The day's not over yet. They turned down a side street, then another. Adrian clearly following some internal map Emma couldn't see. The crowds thinned. The buildings grew older, less polished. This was the warehouse district, mostly abandoned after dark. Where are we going? Emma asked. Somewhere safe, somewhere I've been using as a base. Adrian glanced back, checking for pursuit. It's not much, but it's secure. We can catch our breath, figure out our next move. Our next move? Emma pulled her hand free, stopping in the middle of the sidewalk. Adrian, I'm not part of this. I can't be part of this. I have a life, an apartment, a cat, a mother who calls every Sunday. I can't just disappear into some corporate thriller like I'm a character in a movie. He turned to face her fully, and for the first time, she saw how exhausted he looked. Not just physically tired, though the shadows under his eyes suggested he hadn't slept properly in days, but emotionally drained. This wasn't an adventure for him. It was survival. I know, he said softly. I know what I'm asking is impossible. But Emma, the moment those men saw you with me, the choice was already made. You can walk away right now. I won't stop you. But they'll find you. Tonight, tomorrow. It doesn't matter when. And when they do, they'll want to know what you told me, what Chen told you, what you know about the missing money. I don't know anything. They won't believe that. His voice carried the weight of experience. I didn't know anything either. Not really. I just saw some irregular transfers, got curious, dug a little deeper. But that was enough. That was more than enough to make me dangerous. Emma wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite her jacket. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to find a police station, to call her mother and her best friend and anyone who could help. But another part of her, the part that had recognized genuine fear in Adrian's eyes, knew he was telling the truth. How long? She asked quietly. How long until we can fix this? I don't know. But I have evidence. Real evidence. Not just theories. I have transaction records, timestamp logs, communication intercepts. Everything needed to prove Chen's innocence and identify the real embezzler. I just need someone with access to Meridian's internal systems to help me verify the final piece. And you think I can do that? You have building access. You have normal work credentials. You're not flagged as suspicious yet. As far as anyone at Meridian knows, you're just an employee who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Adrian's expression turned pleading. 1 hour. Give me 1 hour to show you what I found, to prove I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me after that, I'll help you disappear. New identity, new city, whatever you need. But if you do believe me, then maybe we have a chance. Emma stared at him. This stranger who'd crashed into her life and turned it upside down in under 10 minutes. His expensive coat was torn at the shoulder now. Blood had dried on his temple. But his eyes, those gray eyes that had first held warning and apology, now held something else. Hope. 1 hour, Emma said. But if I think you're lying, if anything you show me doesn't check out, you run. I understand. Adrian's shoulders sagged with relief. Thank you. They continued walking, turning down another narrow street. Adrian led her to what looked like an abandoned office building, its windows dark and covered with construction permits that were months out of date. He produced a key from his pocket, where he'd gotten it, Emma couldn't imagine, and unlocked a side door that didn't look like it had been opened in years. Inside, the building smelled of dust and decay. Adrian used his phone flashlight to navigate through a lobby filled with covered furniture and peeling wallpaper. They climbed stairs to the 3rd floor, then down a hallway to a corner office. This space was different. Clean. Organized. A laptop sat on a makeshift desk constructed from milk crates and plywood. Papers covered one wall, connected by red string, in a pattern that looked like something from a crime drama. A sleeping bag lay rolled in the corner, next to several bottles of water and protein bar wrappers. Home sweet home, Adrian said with dark humor. He gestured to the wall of papers. Everything I've found so far. Bank records, transfer receipts, communication logs. The story of how someone at Meridian Technologies stole $12 million and framed David Chen for it. Emma approached the wall slowly, her marketing brain automatically trying to find patterns in the chaos. And gradually, as her eyes adjusted to the connections Adrian had made, a picture emerged. "The transfers all happened on Fridays," she said, noticing the pattern. "Between 4 and 5 p.m. When most of the executive staff is already gone for the weekend," Adrian confirmed. "But the system still shows Chen's authorization code because someone cloned his credentials. See here?" He pointed to a printout. "These are the actual keystrokes captured by the security system. Chen types 72 words per minute with a distinctive pattern. These authorization entries, 94 words per minute, completely different rhythm. It's not him." Emma leaned closer, her professional instincts kicking in despite her fear. "But if you have this evidence, why not just send it to the police? To the FBI? Why are you hiding?" "Because the person who framed Chen has access to everything. They erased my employment records, flagged me as a security threat, and filed charges for corporate espionage before I even knew what was happening. By the time I realized I was being framed, there was already a warrant for my arrest." Adrian's voice turned bitter. "And the evidence I collected? It's all technically obtained through unauthorized access. Without someone inside Meridian to verify it through official channels, it's inadmissible. I'm just a hacker making accusations. But with my access, you could pull the official logs. You could verify the timestamps, the authorization codes, the transfer records through legitimate channels. You could prove I'm telling the truth." Adrian moved to stand beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "You could save both our lives." Emma turned to face him, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. In the dim light from his laptop, his features looked softer, younger. Without the fear and adrenaline, she could see he was probably only a few years older than her, late 20s, maybe 30. Someone who'd been living a normal life until it all fell apart. "What if we fail?" she asked quietly. "Then we run together." His hand found hers again, and this time the touch felt different. Less about guidance, more about connection. "I won't let them hurt you, Emma. I promise." "You can't promise that." "No," he admitted. "But I can try. And I can tell you that you're the first person in 2 days who's looked at me like I might be telling the truth instead of like I'm a criminal. That matters. That means something." Emma's heart did something complicated in her chest. Part fear, part something else entirely. This was insane. Everything about the situation was completely insane. But looking into Adrian's eyes, seeing the vulnerability there beneath the desperation, she couldn't shake the feeling that he was genuine. "Okay," she said. "Show me everything, every piece of evidence, every connection you've made. And then tomorrow morning, I'll go into the office and pull the official records." Adrian's expression transformed, relief and gratitude flooding his features. "Thank you. Emma, Glass shattered downstairs." They both froze. For one suspended moment, Emma hoped it was just the building settling. Just coincidence, just anything but what she knew it was. Then she heard voices. Multiple voices. And the sound of footsteps on the stairs. "They found us," Adrian whispered. His hand tightened on hers. "The fire escape. Now." They grabbed the laptop and ran. Adrian shoved papers into a backpack Emma hadn't noticed before, moving with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd done this before. They burst through the office door, into the hallway, just as flashlight beams swept up the stairwell. "There!" someone shouted. Emma didn't look back. Adrian pulled her toward the opposite end of the hall, toward a window that opened onto a rusted fire escape. He yanked it open, the ancient hinges shrieking in protest, and pushed her through first. The fire escape groaned under their weight. Emma's heels were absolutely wrong for this, and she kicked them off without thinking, her stockinged feet finding purchase on the metal grating. They descended fast, too fast, the structure swaying with each step. Behind them, the window exploded outward as someone crashed through it rather than bothering to open it properly. "Jump!" Adrian yelled. They were still one floor up, but he didn't give her time to think about it. He jumped first, landing in a crouch in the alley below, then immediately looked up with his arms extended. "I'll catch you!" Emma jumped. For one weightless moment, she was flying, falling, her stomach in her throat and her heart in her mouth. Then Adrian's arms were around her, solid and sure, breaking her fall even as they both tumbled to the wet pavement. Go, go. He pulled her up, and they ran again. They burst out of the alley onto a busier street, thank God for the city's nightlife, and immediately slowed to a walk, trying to blend in despite their disheveled appearance. Emma's feet screamed in protest against the cold pavement, but adrenaline made it distant, manageable. Behind them, she heard angry voices and the sound of pursuit, but the crowd was thick enough to provide cover. Adrian led her around a corner, then another, weaving through the Friday night chaos with clear purpose. Where now? Emma gasped. Somewhere public? Somewhere they can't touch us without causing a scene. Adrian pulled out his phone, quickly scanning something. There's a hotel 6 blocks from here. 24-hour lobby, security cameras, lots of witnesses. We can blend in with the late check-ins, catch our breath, figure out our next move. And when they find us again? They will, Adrian admitted. But each time we stay ahead, each hour we buy, we get closer to tomorrow morning. Closer to you accessing those files. Closer to ending this. He squeezed her hand. We just have to survive the night. They reached the hotel 15 minutes later. A mid-range business chain. Busy enough to provide anonymity, but nice enough to have actual security. Adrian approached the front desk with confidence Emma didn't feel, producing a credit card that probably wasn't in his real name. 1 room, he told the clerk. King bed. We had a flight delay, lost our luggage. Long story. The clerk barely glanced at them, her professional smile fixed in place. Of course. I'll have you checked in right away. Emma stood close to Adrian, hyper-aware of every person in the lobby, every potential threat. But the space was full of normal travelers, business people with roller bags, a family with exhausted children, a couple laughing over drinks in the hotel bar. No one looked at them twice. They rode the elevator to the 8th floor in silence. Emma's reflection in the mirrored walls shocked her, her hair wild, her makeup smeared, her blouse torn at the shoulder. She looked like someone who'd been through hell. She looked like someone different than the woman who'd left her office 3 hours ago. Adrian unlocked the room and immediately checked every corner, closet, bathroom, behind curtains. Old habits, Emma realized, the habits of someone who'd been hunted. We're secure, he finally said, setting his backpack on the desk. And we're safe for now. The room's registered under a false name, paid in cash. They'd have to check every hotel in the city to find us. Will they? Emma sank onto the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted beyond measure. Probably, but it'll take time. Adrian sat beside her, close but not touching. Emma, I know this is insane, terrifying, completely beyond anything I ever imagined experiencing. Emma laughed, and it came out slightly hysterical. I design email campaigns. My biggest stress this morning was whether to use a blue or green call to action button. And now I'm... What? A fugitive? A witness? I don't even know what I am anymore. You're brave, Adrian said quietly. You could have walked away a dozen times tonight, could have called the police, could have decided I was crazy. But you didn't. You trusted your instincts, and you chose to help. That's not nothing. Emma met his eyes, and something passed between them. Recognition, understanding, connection. They were strangers thrown together by circumstance, but they weren't strangers anymore. Couldn't be, after everything they'd been through tonight. What happens tomorrow? She asked. Tomorrow, you go to work like normal. You access the files, verify the evidence, and then we take it to the authorities. But this time with legitimate proof, obtained through proper channels. We expose whoever's really behind this. We clear Chen's name. We save both our lives. Adrian's expression turned fierce. And then you get to go back to your apartment, your cat, your Sunday calls with your mother. Back to your life. And you? I start over. New city, new identity. New life. But at least I'll be free. He paused, something vulnerable crossing his face. And at least I'll know I did the right thing, that I didn't let them win. Emma reached out, her hand finding his cheek. The gesture surprised them both, but she didn't pull away. We'll do it together. Tomorrow, we end this. Together. Adrian leaned into her touch, his eyes closing briefly. When he opened them again, they held something that made Emma's breath catch. Not just gratitude or relief, but something deeper. Something that felt dangerously like the beginning of something real. Together, he agreed softly. They sat there in the quiet hotel room, hands intertwined, two people whose lives had collided in violence and chaos, but who had found, against all odds, something worth fighting for. Not just survival. Not just justice. Each other. Outside, the city continued its Friday night rhythm, oblivious to the two people hiding in room 847. Oblivious to the danger still hunting them. Oblivious to the evidence that could bring down a criminal and expose the truth. But tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, Emma would walk back into Meridian Technologies and access those files. Tomorrow, they would take the evidence to the authorities and end this nightmare. Tomorrow, they would reclaim their lives. If they survived the night. Emma stood, moving to the window. The city sprawled below them, thousands of lights marking thousands of lives being lived in blissful ignorance. Somewhere out there, the men hunting them were regrouping, searching, planning their next move. They'll come again, she said quietly. Yes. Adrian joined her at the window, his presence solid and reassuring. But we'll be ready. We've stayed ahead this long. One more night, that's all we need. Emma turned to face him fully, taking in his profile, strong jaw, intelligent eyes, the determination that had kept him alive for 2 days. She made a decision. Then we should rest, build our strength. She gestured to the bed. It's big enough for both of us. And honestly, after everything tonight, I don't want to be alone. Adrian's expression softened. Neither do I. They lay down fully clothed, exhaustion finally catching up with adrenaline. But despite the tiredness pulling at her, Emma couldn't quite silence her racing thoughts. Tomorrow she would walk into a normal office building and do something completely abnormal. Tomorrow she would access confidential files and gather evidence and potentially put herself in even more danger. But tonight, in this quiet hotel room, with Adrian's steady breathing beside her, she felt something unexpected. She felt alive. More alive than she'd felt in years of safe choices and careful planning. More alive than her quiet apartment and predictable routines had ever made her feel. Adrian, she whispered into the darkness. Thank you for saving me tonight, for trusting me with the truth. His hand found hers in the dark, fingers intertwining. Thank you for believing me, for giving me hope when I'd almost run out. Emma squeezed his hand and closed her eyes, letting exhaustion finally claim her. Tomorrow would bring danger and decisions, and a reckoning that could change everything. But tonight, for these few hours, they were safe. And somehow, impossibly, they were no longer alone. The digital clock on the nightstand counted down the hours. Outside, the city never slept. And somewhere in the darkness, dangerous men continued their hunt. But in room 847, two people who'd found each other in chaos rested, gathering strength for the battle ahead. Two people who discovered that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is trust a stranger. And sometimes it's the only thing that can save you. If you've made it this far, you're invested in Emma and Adrian's story. And trust me, tomorrow is going to change everything. Will Emma successfully pull off accessing those files at Meridian? Can they expose the truth before it's too late? And what happens when the real mastermind behind the embezzlement is finally revealed? The answers are coming, but only if you're here for the next chapter. Hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss what happens when Emma walks back into that office building. Drop a comment telling me if you think Adrian is telling the truth or if there's more to his story than he's letting on. And smash that like button if you're as hooked on this thriller as I am. Emma's about to risk everything, and you won't want to miss a single heartbeat of what happens next.